Now, In Between is a really interesting film, In Between Bar Bahar. So it's directed by Mosalun Hamoud, who won a prize at Cannes just recently. The story is of 3 Palestinian women living in Tel Aviv. One of them is a free-spirited lawyer who drinks and smokes with the best of them and takes great pleasure in sort of breaking what you would think of as the generic codes of her profession and her gender. Another is a DJ who's holding down a day job working in kitchens and bars, and whose strict Christian family don't know that she's gay, which is something that she's kept from them. They are joined by a third person who is a devout Muslim and is engaged to a very sort of sanctimonious, very, very devout fiancé who disapproves of the flatmates and immediately thinks that the flatmates are going to be a bad influence and wants to move the marriage forward in order to, to get his intended away from these bad influences. And when you meet the characters initially, they seem like they're very different. But what happens during the course of the drama is that you come to see that the issues that they're facing are very, very similar. The lawyer is involved in a sort of whirlwind romance with this man that she's met who appears to be very worldly, very liberal, very, very open-minded, appears to be absolutely sort of tailor-made for her, but becomes weirdly chippy and critical of her clothing and her smoking and her manner whenever his family are around. The DJ has found love in the arms of a young doctor, but is unable to tell her parents that she's in a same-sex relationship. And in fact, her parents are absolutely determined to marry her off to somebody and fiercely determined that that's what they're going to do. As for Noor, who is engaged to this very devout and very upstanding, apparently, man, she discovers in a frankly horrifying scene exactly what is expected of somebody in her position, a scene which is all the more horrifying for the fact that it's handled with such discretion by the director. As the title In Between suggests, the portrait is of people living in a sort of liminal world between two things, between a certain amount of freedom and a certain amount of repression, between a religious society and a secular society, between, in the greater scheme of things, the past and the future. And I thought the film was a real delight and a treat. When it won its award in Cannes, Isabelle Huppert, who presented the director with the award, and I think it was the Women's Young Talent Award, said that the women that are portrayed in this film are the true heroines of our age. And I think she's absolutely right. What each one of them is doing is dealing with the day-to-day problems that their society presents them with in ways that are very, very different. And yet, during the course of the drama, we come to see them bonding and pulling together and finding common cause. It's also a drama which doesn't pretend to find easy solutions. It has one of the most enigmatic final shots in a movie that I've seen since The Graduate. The final shot of The Graduate.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Like that?
Or even the final shot of The Long Good Friday. I mean, something which is really, really deliberately enigmatic and haunting and suggests so much without completely stating, what it is. It has a terrific soundtrack which brings together the idea that on the one hand, there's this kind of partying lifestyle going on in a sort of slightly underground scene. But on the other hand, that's also happening in a society in which structures are very, very clearly laid down and rules and regulations are followed by families, by authorities, by employers, by employees. The other thing that I really like about it is how many different places it draws its influences from. I read a terrific interview with the director in Sight and Sound magazine, in which she said that she was influenced by Ken Loach and Almodovar. I can see the Almodovar, definitely. I think there's a comparison to be made between In Between and Almodovar's early film Pepe Lucha Bomb, which I like very much, although it's completely out of control and anarchic and very tonally different to this. But then she also said, and of course there's Quentin Tarantino. There's a sort of a revenge narrative which starts to happen about half the way through. And I was just very surprised to hear her cite that as an example. It's a film in which you really believe in the characters, you really believe in their situations. They're lively and vibrant and totally engaging. And it's a film which thrums with life, thrums with the possibility of life, and also an understanding of the strictures of life. It's called In Between, and I would recommend anybody to go and see it because I thought it was really terrific.